Hi guys, welcome to Quantum Voice. She's Pratyusha, I'm Yogesh, and today we are gonna talk about AI and mental health. When we think about mental illnesses, we already see that there are a lot of problems when it comes to traditional understanding of what mental illnesses are. Uh, there is already so much lack of awareness about the most common illnesses like depression and anxiety, right? And when it comes to psychosis, when it comes to PTSD, when it comes to schizophrenia, there is almost no understanding in the common domain, right? So, and even there is a great level of huge level of social stigma around this topic, right? So the technology here can play a huge role in improving the conditions of it. We almost more than 60% of world population is connected with internet, and almost a little less than half of us have mobile devices in some form or the other, right? And this is where I think AI and technology as a whole can play a huge role in improving the conditions, improving the knowledge about, awareness about, and also a little bit of early assessment and treatment of mental illness, right? So, Pratisha, where do you want to kickstart this?
Let's try to understand the nature of mental illness.
Cool. Uh, See, one that we ourselves don't understand mental illnesses very well, because when you have a stomach ache, right, there is a concrete outlook towards it. There is a concrete evidence that you are suffering through something, right? But when it comes to mental illness, you exactly don't know what you are feeling,
It's
right?
not as defined.
As defined as it can, right? And then also in the current society, the level of stigma we have around mental illnesses, that is huge. When you go to even your family member and share that I'm constantly sad, or say I'm like not feeling well, my mood is not keeping well from a few days, I'm feeling agitated all the time, people try to come up with solutions like, array, go for a vacation, you'll be all right, or go hang out with your friends,
Yeah.
you'll be all right, have a good social life, you'll be all right, and whatnot,
Yeah.
right? So even when it comes to social discussions, there is a huge gap, right? But at the same time, as I was giving, so if you are having a headache even, and you go and share with a friend or a family member that you are having a headache, there is a medicine for it. They'll at least suggest you to take a medicine that, go take Disprin, or go take certain medicine,
That's
or
the
go see a
funny
doctor.
thing, the way they react is like when they give you medicine for your headache,
Yes.
but they can easily suggest the same thing as to go see a counselor, or where exactly is the problem. Like if you have a stomach ache, they ask you what have you eaten.
Yes.
Instead of looking at it as something that is an illness, they see huge stigma.
So, and then there is another problem, is availability of resources to cure mental illness. Uh, Mental illness, as per the statistics, is one of the most common illnesses, even more common than diabetes today. Okay, so diabetes stands at 1 in 10. Among every 10 person on earth, there is one person who is affected by diabetes some way or other. But when it comes to mental illness, it is 1 in 6. So every one in 6 people is suffering with mental illness in some form or the other, and most common of them being depression and anxiety, right? And these are something which are thought as auto-curable diseases, that they will go away on their own. Okay, so this stigma and the lack of resources to cure a mental illness is what is making the conditions worse today. And even when I talk about availability of healthcare in this domain, it's one of the worst in it, right? So there are not more than 4,000 psychotherapists in India, and India's
That is-
population is 1.3 billion, right? And most of the therapists are concentrated around urban population, because believe it or not, like urban people are still like little better when it comes to dealing with the issue, dealing with illnesses on their own. They try to seek help. They are more open to seek help. But when
they
it
have
comes,
information
yes,
to-
but when it comes to tier one and tier two city, the social stigma is much more huge. And this is not just in India. Okay, this is across the world. And also when I see, the awareness which is being distributed across, social media, or through other platforms, the awareness itself is like the access to that information is also limited. The one limitation which I see is the vernacular limitation, right? Just 20% of the world population speaks English or understands English, right? So now,
Yes.
majority of the information around this issue is available in English, right? And even right now, what we are doing is recording this.
Speaking in English.
Yeah. So the access to the access of information to the people who can't speak English or can't understand English is the worst,
Yes.
right? So there are so many issues around this domain, and now I think that technology can be one of the major, like it can play a huge role in solving this problem.
And bridging all the gaps.
Yes. But so going forward, what do you think technology or AI can bring on the table to solve mental health issues?
AI helps in quantifying the humongous amount of data that is associated with mental illnesses, which is very haphazard, which is not defined, and most of which is not even measurable by even clinicians, because the manifestations are not just physically and behaviorally, they happen in the brain. And when you take the scans, there is change in the blood flow of a person going through a mental illness, and how it changes from which region of the brain it flows to which region over a period of time, or what are the, so there is a humongous amount of data which is hard to analyze, and it is case specific, time specific, and even not, and within one type of illness it is it can be very different from one patient to another.
True.
But quantifying such amount of data and analyzing it with an array of variables and coming to a conclusion is not something a clinician can do. He doesn't have the capacity to
Make sense of the whole data.
make sense of the whole data, analyze and assess previous thousands of data to be able to diagnose a little sooner, or predict, this person might be going through this. So in this case, early detection and diagnosis, AI can help very significantly if all the parameters are properly set, and the algorithms are efficient.
True. When it comes to especially handheld devices, we all have mobile phones in our pocket, right? Mobile phones can easily track our behaviors, can easily track our sleep patterns, and can track our, even we can give certain data like heartbeats using biometric systems. So when it comes to these data, AI can easily predict when a pattern is changing. So let's say if I am sleeping 8 hours every day from a certain time to certain time, my usual routine is 5 to 11. I sleep 6 hours every day. But let's say if my device comes to know that my sleep is breaking at 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning frequently, it gets to know that my sleep patterns is getting disturbed, and it can track, and also it can map with my behavioral data. So for example, I'm chatting to 10 people every day, and the regular exchange of text reduced. My social behavior changed. for say certain number of days without any pre-notion set over there. So it can track that changes. And the same goes with my biometric data as well. If my heartbeat is increasing rapidly, it can track that. So when it comes to all these data, it makes it very easy for handle devices to predict an illness. And of course, like the early onset of such diseases, mental illnesses can be tracked with the help of technology, right?
Definitely. Like you were just telling, if you're texting, 10 people and that reduces or that overly increases, and you may be using words that you haven't used before over a period of time.
Yes.
Your voice patterns might change. The length, the duration changes. The context in which you are speaking might change, and so all these things are trackable, and combined with your, say, heart rate change or your sleep pattern change, there can be a proper analysis or a proper classification, if not extremely defined, however blurry it is, at least there is something that can be flagged about you before the onset of something that can happen. So that is a good and the impact is much bigger than we think. I mean, I would be happy if I am able to, if I am flagged before the onset of anxiety, and I can switch to another app which helps to calm me down. Say cognitively, behaviorally, it is helping me to divert that or avert that onset of mental illness. That is a huge help.
True. So there are overall, I think, more than 25,000 apps on Play Store that are created to help people drive through their issues, right? And technology is so advanced right now that there are robotic systems being created, voice-enabled systems being created that that are playing the role of therapists, especially for PTSD patients. Uh, for the patient, it is very difficult to open up in front of a therapist, a human therapist, because what they are more worried about is being judged, right? But when there is a robot present, or there is a voice-enabled device present, which is a non-human, it's easier for them, and research has proven that it's easier for the patients to open up freely because they don't fear that judgment anymore.
Yeah. First of all, it is hard for anybody to make that call and go put themselves in the most vulnerable spot about their personal life and their weaknesses, and you go there and you're unable to open up, and then say, for God forbid, you are judged, and that believe it or not, like I had a couple of friends who tried it, and there are so many counselors out there as well who are not entirely experienced to the variety of illnesses within even a particular category, even if their specialization is, say, depersonalization disorder. Depersonalization disorder has varied levels to it. And you go and express something to them, they'll probably give a quick fix, in which case you feel either completely misunderstood, not understood at all, or judged. So it's pretty scary. So it's easier to speak to, not that it completely compensates, but at least if in the beginning stage you can overcome the vulnerability of opening up.
True. And when it comes to lack of, when I said earlier, lack of resources, I think I should correct myself here as lack of good resources. Right. So especially when it comes to mental illness, it's such a huge barrier even for ourselves to seek help. And now if I decide to go and seek help, and it turns out that my therapist is not good enough,
Yeah.
it will be very difficult for me to go switch to another therapist,
Yeah.
right? Because I don't. With the first therapist, I tried and started from the scratch,
Yeah.
right? And going to the second therapist and
And
starting
starting
from
from
the
the scratch
scratch
is the
is the
worst.
most difficult part,
You
right?
can't
And
repeat your emotions or repeat the processing of
so
opening up.
I think this is where this is another domain where technology can help,
Yeah.
right? I think technology can go hand in hand with doctors, and
Yes.
doctors can play a role in probably advising the solutions or
Yeah.
giving the medications.
Yes.
But earlier part of treatment can be or the diagnosis can be done with the help
Much
of
faster, yeah.
technology.
Technology, yeah. I mean, even the chatbots, the virtual therapists that we are talking about. Say a person is going through like a major episode in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., and the immediate help is the most important crucial thing at that point of time, and virtual assistants can be a good help at that point of time. Also, most of the times, like between sessions, people go through episodes, so many doubts, so many questions, and they have to wait until their next appointment, which may not be the case if you have an assistant which, even if it doesn't empathize fully, but at least for the release or for expression, it is there, and eventually we will get to a point where it is two ways, and maybe it is coherent. The conversation is coherent, hopefully.
True.
What are the main tech solutions that we have
Currently available?
Yeah.
Okay, so right now, what I see is there are apps available majorly in 3-4 domains. Of course, there is one domain which is around mindfulness and meditation. So there are quite a few apps which helps you calm down in the moment, practice breathing, practice meditation for 5 minutes, 10 minutes on a daily basis, which helps you meditate and let go of your anxieties. So that is one domain where I think there is a lot of help available with the help of tech and
I think the day-to-day activities.
day-to-day activities. And on the other hand, there are as you were talking about, there are a few chatbots which are available which talk to you empathetically. With them, you can like share your issues, talk to them, and they will respond back to you with empathy. And so these are this is still a very broader section of help. On a day-to-day basis, there are apps which gives you positive messaging, empathetic messaging to help you drive through your daily life. So, and third, there are quite a few assessment tools that are available where you can which can keep track of your day-to-day activities and probably they collect your data and they can integrate with your healthcare provider ongoing sessions and give this data or any fluctuation in this data, share this data with your healthcare provider. So there are a lot of apps which have tied up with insurance companies already, and insurance companies give you free usage of those apps on day-to-day basis to track your mental health. But what are the advanced usage of tech, AI especially in this domain, which is available currently?
So it's in the narrow intelligence, there are two prevalent areas which are predominantly applicable. One is computer vision and another is NLP. Computer vision mainly monitoring if there is an ongoing session, maybe they can record your change of emotions, and we cannot understand it so obviously, but there are so many markers. Like I think we were discussing once that a person who is depressed is unable to open their mouth fully, or they might look in a particular direction, which may specifically attribute to a particular issue they are going through, particular mental
Illness.
illness they are going through. So all this data, maybe if it is in huge magnitude, can help future diagnosis in the future, because so much because if a patient goes to a doctor and there can be a cognitive bias, but looking at so much of previous data, I think some of the cognitive bias which we all have in one way or the other can be removed, especially like from the counselor's perspective. The another area is NLP, as I was talking about, is all you were mentioning about all these apps that help and chatbots that help, and even monitoring our behavior on social media, how our usage of words, and so all this plugged in context with NLP, even with the counselor, the usage of words and the word patterns, the voice modulation, everything. So these are the two main areas where the tech is mainly kind of leveraging for bridging the gaps in mental health.
True.
So speaking of all this data, how grabbing so much amount of data can impact negatively, positively, in whichever way do you think?
See, of course, data privacy is one of the huge concerns in this domain. And see, internet as a whole, the economy on internet is being fueled by data, right? So the privacy is a huge concern over here. If you are giving out this private data voluntarily to a certain app, what are they gonna do? So there are a couple of apps which I'm not gonna name names, but they have been sued over the last years, that they take this data and use this data to serve you better advertisements. Okay.
Oh my god.
So, this is a major, when it comes to sharing data voluntarily, this is obviously a challenge. So, here I'll, even to our viewers, I'll suggest where when you are downloading a certain app to help you in this process, please be sure that there is a proper data policy with the app. If there is no data privacy policy with the app, please don't use that app at all. So that is one, and also when it comes to sharing that data, this is of course the worst concern. The good part around it is, when we talk about AI cannot be effective without the data as well. So it's not just our patterns which can be effective in tracking our behavior or our illnesses. The pattern has to be recognized among thousands and millions of individuals to come to a proper useful solution. This is what is gonna work for certain individual. So of course, without data, none of these solutions can work. So the data is there are so many apps out there, so many tech out there which are using our data to create effective solutions around it. But yeah, of course, the concern is around privacy. Another major concern when it comes to tech is, when a certain kind of app is successful, okay, may it be for meditation, may it be for proper treatments, may it be just analysis of mental illnesses, whatever. If a certain app is being successful, there are a lot of copycats being done, right? So a lot of apps or a lot of technological services out there try to imitate what a successful company is doing, but they are rather not backed by science completely.
Yes.
So there is no scientific evidence that a certain app will prove useful for you. So this is one another thing that you need to make sure that if you're using a certain app, it is backed by proper research. Okay, having said that, having discussed about the problems, what are the key areas which can be improved going forward?
I think accessibility is one thing. We've been discussing about it. With the advantage we have right now is with the tech and solution, everything, that it is accessible at a much larger scale than it was a few years ago. And another thing is the affordability. Not everybody can afford counseling, but if there is enough the right kind of tech accessible, then it can be affordable to people. So these are the areas that are slightly improving, but more emphasis can be put in these areas so that it is much faster and more people are helped in this space. And yeah, awareness, definitely social behavioral changes that has to be brought about. I think we were discussing this. If somebody in our family is going through any kind of illness, we are very not non-mental illness, where we help them very effectively.
Yes.
And we are not very effective when it comes to helping somebody with mental illness. Yes, we are not equipped with knowledge, but at least we do not have the right understanding of what mental illness is. So that kind of awareness
the
is...
education of and awareness of mental illnesses can be improved a lot. And I think you're right here when, what we should do ourselves and as a society as a whole. The first thing is to improve the education, have a proper educational setup and awareness around mental illness.
Yeah, I think there has to be a definite do's and don'ts when somebody is actually mentally ill and reaching out to someone. As simple a thing as if a friend goes reaches out to a friend and says that I'm not feeling well, as simple a thing as like, oh, you will be fine. That's the worst thing to say. Or it's like it'll pass, or it's not real, or these are the things that aggravate 10x, or it's not quantifiable, but I'm saying that it can make somebody not be having a sense of not belonging to a particular place, or not being that nobody believes the person who is actually going through this. So there has to be at least an understanding of certain do's and don'ts. I think there can be programs for the next kin of patients whenever they are diagnosed or put into a program, that even the family members go through a program or maybe a brief session, a crash course sort of thing, how they can help their family member properly until the point of cure. Maybe how can they help with their day-to-day activities, what exactly the specific pointers, making the whole process more efficient is going to improve things in a huge scale, and also overall it will bring awareness. Next something happens to somebody else, at least a large set of population is aware that it can be a very difficult place for somebody going through, right?
Yes.
So what do you think about the ideals, which is probably very difficult to achieve, or maybe not soon we can achieve, but what do you think is the ideal state in future when it comes to dealing with mental illnesses?
See, if it has to be me who can decide the future, I'll of course wish that there is no mental illnesses in the future. I want the ideal future to be free of mental diseases completely. But having said that, this is of course an ideal scenario. But what can be achieved is, of course, as we were talking about, better education, better reach, better awareness, better affordability, better resources, accessibility. So these are all that we need to push forward for, and this is where I think technology can play a huge role. And currently, there are quite a few resources which I have used personally. This is, of course, not a medical suggestion. I am nowhere close enough to give you a medical solution for this.
You're
But
not
yeah,
qualified.
from personal experience, I have tried Calm, which is a meditation app, mindfulness app. There is another mindfulness app called Headspace, which I've tried. Uh, for ADHD kids, there is a pretty good resource which is available called Endeavor RX. That is one of the most advanced AI-based tool. It uses games to understand the patterns and helps
Attention.
helps improving attention of kids. So apart from that, there are few resources which I'll be dropping down in the comment section. In the description section, you guys please go ahead and read it completely. Apart from these, there are a couple of other resources which we are looking forward in the near future. One of them is, of course, Neuralink, which we have already done a video on. So, Neuralink can be a very helpful device. So, Neuralink is a device which can be implanted in your brain, and it helps you, understand
Brain
how
activity.
your brain is functioning. It helps understanding brain activity, and it can monitor brain activity. So I think Neuralink is
It's
the
a prospect in the far future where it can significantly, that's the prospect. We are, even Neuralink, we are very far off from that, but this is one
I
of
believe
the,
it will be out in another few years. So yeah.
I am doubtful, but
Okay.
let's see.
So apart from this, I'm also dropping a list of resources in the description. Please go ahead and check them out. And this brings us to the end of the video. But before ending, I'll just wanted to share one thing with you guys is that this was one of the most difficult videos we have ever done. Though this is coming out to you as like one whole, video, but trust me on this, we went through at least 50 cuts in between because we are also trying to deliver best to our knowledge. Where this is coming from is just our knowledge on this topic. This is it from our side on this. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching us. Until next time, bye bye.